Okay, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the rear end of this car. Before, this car had a blue motor, and whatever I have on here is the exact same as I have on here. I don't have the top shock. This motor pod, I had that when I was in Japan. Oh, after I visited Japan, I put the pod on. This one came from Japan, but everything else on this car was identical. The only difference really was the body. This car was running the McLaren body. This car is running the Audi R8. Locally at our local track, when it's open, Limo track, every weekend the track changes. So it's always green track, meaning there's no grip. It's just loose. And to get traction for this car with this body, I want the car to have a body roll, okay? So that when I turn into the corner, I can have the car roll first and then turn, okay? With this body in this car, I get that roll and then turn because this body weighs in around 32 grams. Well, with this body that weighs 25 grams, I can't really feel that roll and then turn. Instead, it would just turn kind of flat. When I turn to the right or left, it would just turn instead of rolling and then turning, right? I don't feel that body roll. So to get that for this car, remember, when I had this car before, there's no center shock and there's no aluminum pod. It looks exactly like this, but with the blue motor. To get that body roll, what I did was I put less grease. Okay, so this car looked like this, okay? But with this body. I put less grease and then I removed the spring on top. But I have a spring in the bottom. I tried not running spring or not running disc in the bottom, but the car sags. So I had to put spring under there. Now let's go back to this car. Okay, I had to run spring under, but without the spring on top. This center shock doesn't exist. Okay, that I just add that on. But let's go ahead and remove this center shock so I can show you what I have done under the disc damper. The goal here was to have this car, again, to have a chassis roll or a body roll, okay? I like to feel that sometimes. It depends on the car and on the traction. Low grip, I like it to have that body roll. High grip, of course, I just want it to snap into the steering, but smoothly, okay? Very minimal chassis roll, okay? So with that center shock removed, you'll notice here, I am not running spring, okay? I did not run the spring because it puts resistance to the disc that sandwiches this plate. That sandwiches the plate, so now the left and right transition of the car is tight. It doesn't dip like this or it doesn't roll like that. Instead, it does this, okay? I want it to roll a little bit. I don't want it to just turn. I want it to move a little bit and then follow. Move the front a little bit, then the back follows. I don't want it to just kind of snap into the turn. I want it to roll a little bit, okay? And to do that, I remove the spring that's putting resistance in between the disc and this carbon fiber plate, okay? So no spring. Take that off. And let's remove this. Again, I wanted the back end to move. So to do that, I don't put grease in the lower disc, only on the top. Okay, I actually have never done this before. I just did this at Limo when beginning of the year when we started running this car. But this car is not my race car. This was the race car. This is like my testing car to see if I can beat that car. And it's almost guaranteed 2/10 faster compared to that. But then again, I have a light body, okay? 30 30, almost 32 grams. This is 25 grams. So let's just say 6.5 grams lighter. Okay, let's remove this. That's what it looked like. There's a spring in the bottom, soft spring, and then I cut out the disc. Okay, the whole purpose of this disc is so that the back end of the car doesn't sag. Doesn't sag like this. Okay, when it's on the track, it doesn't do that. Because if it's doing that, when I'm cornering, this side is going to scrape. Okay, so I need to lift up the back so that's not sagging too much, but I also don't want to add more resistance. So what I did was I trimmed out the disc. Okay, the whole purpose of this is to lift up the back, and that's it. The top part is to put resistance with the grease. Okay, a little bit of resistance, not a lot. If I want more, I put the spring on top, but I don't do that. Okay, because I want the back end to move, meaning with this light body, I wanted to do this. Okay, this is my driving style. It doesn't mean you should do it. Most people, they don't like it moving too much. They like it tight. Okay, I am different. I like to feel the car roll. Okay, even in my mod car, my car still has this. It makes me drive the car smoother. If I can't feel it like that, my driving style is completely different. It feels like a point and shoot driver. And I don't prefer that. I make a lot of mistakes when my car doesn't have this roll. Also, I'm over exaggerating here when I say I want my car to roll. My car is not really rolling like this, okay? I can feel it. You can't even see it, but when I'm driving it, I can feel and I can see my car roll a little bit. Like when I come into the corner, I can feel the car shifting its weight first and then it's turning, okay? But of course, I'm not gonna set up my car to where it's rolling like this, because inside the chicane, the car is gonna be slow. It'll be so much slower in the transition. So I don't set up my car like that. I just go by that slight feel of the car rolling a little bit. It's like a slight roll. It's not really doing this. I'm just exaggerating so you have an idea on what chassis roll I'm talking about, okay? But don't set up your car to where it drives like a boat, you know? It's not like that. My car doesn't do that, okay? Just I can feel it. It's transitioning. It's shifting weight like this a little bit, okay? Like a little bit, all right? So what I did is that there's still soft spring under there. So the soft spring so that there's not that much resistance. That's going to put on the disc and that damper plate, okay? So I'm going to clean that actually. So that's what I have there. And of course, there's other ways of doing this, but our spec is this. So I want to copy the exact setup I have here to this car, okay? But this is not my race car, only this, because this is modified. This is not allowed. So I don't run this car in our spec class, only this one, okay? Now for the shock, the center shock, I added that when I was in Japan, because I wanted to run the aluminum mount, but I wasn't able to figure out what damper plate goes with the pod. I only had like 2 hours to work on the car, and I ran out of time. I wanted to play, not tune the car. So anyway, okay, so that's that. And then I'm going to put grease. Also, with the grease, I don't put a lot. Like I said, I want the back, because the light body, I want the car to have a chassis roll. So I would put a little bit. Okay, this is probably a lot actually. But okay, now if I want the back end to be tighter without removing anything, I would put a thicker grease or more grease. I am currently running the 5000 Kyosho. Now, if I want more, I would add I would add more. If I want the back end to slow down, I would add more than the dab that I put on there. Now, if I want even more than that, then I would step up to the 15,000 diff grease, okay? Then if I want more, then I put the spring on top. You see where I'm going? It's really just a little bit. And then with my car setup, I don't put grease on the shaft. There's no grease there. Okay. There's no grease because the grease that I have on here is enough. Now, if I want to slow down the back of the car, if it's bouncing around a lot, then I would put a little bit of grease. But right now, with the track that we have, it's pretty smooth. It's actually smooth. There's one bump, but it's not bumpy at all. It's smooth. But at the same time, it doesn't have traction. It's a new track. So I want the back end to like move freely, but not bounce around. To do that, I had to remove the grease that I have on there. I had grease here when I was in Japan, a little bit. And only for local track, I removed the grease and only have the grease here on top, and that's it. Okay, that grease is enough to dampen the rear end. And at the same time, I can still have this chassis roll, okay? Because I am running the FRP plate and it's softer side to side compared to the carbon fiber. The carbon fiber is stiff, not too stiff, but slightly stiffer. But it doesn't really need the spring in the bottom because it's stiffer compared to the FRP. Doesn't sag like if you put the car with the body on, it doesn't sag like this with the carbon fiber. With the FRP, if I remove that center shock with the body on, it sags a lot. So it needs, with this FRP plate, it needs that center shock. Okay, so it's not sagging too much. Okay, this is not like the setup that you should run. I'm just saying that this is the setup I had tuned for this car to compare versus this car. Okay, remember, these two cars are identical, same motor, everything. The only difference is the body. This is 5-6 grams lighter than that body, so I wanted this to have that roll because I don't have that weight. And by doing that, this car is 0.2 faster on a loose track, green track, and on high grip track, this is 0.3 faster than this car. Okay, well, anyway, that's all I have. This is that. This setup is maybe something you can try if your track is always brand new, meaning every time you show up at a track, there's a new track layout. That track is going to feel green, meaning it doesn't have that much traction, or there isn't that many drivers that uses the track, then the track is always going to feel green. And to do that, for me, to get the cornering speed, I like the car to have a body roll. In order to do that, that's what I did to the car. Now, if you don't want to be doing all that stuff, just put a little bit, just a dab of grease, 5,000, just a little bit. So clean it up. Just put a little bit of grease on top. Try that first and see if it's still, the back end is over rotating or it's too quick when you steer the car. It's too quick. It's very sensitive. Then remove the spring on top and see how that feels, okay? Also, this disc that I have on here, it's a little not loose to where it's moving around, but it's loose to where it's not getting stuck on the damper post. Some disc, when you buy it brand new, it can get stuck like that. And it's not really resting flat on the damper. So what you want to do is open up the hole in the disc damper, in the disc. I just use a rolled up, I think I have it here. A rolled up, yeah, there you go. Sandpaper. I get the disc. So let's just say this is the disc, right? And then I just sand it a little bit, and then on the other side, and then fit it back on there to see if it's loose enough. You want the disc to just slide down, but not loose, okay? You don't want it loose to where it's doing that. Okay, that's too loose. You still want it a little snug in the damper post, but it's not getting hung up in the post itself. Okay, if it's still getting hung up, sand it a little bit more, and you want it to go up and down smoothly. So this disc is always on the damper plate from its own weight. Okay, I don't need to use spring. Okay, I have this set up like this again because this is our spec car, and I had this spec car like this, very basic, so that every time we show up at a track, we don't spend too much time on tuning the car. Instead, we just charge the battery and run. Okay, if you do need to do something, clean up the disc damper and re-grease, and that's it. Run again. Rotate tires, run again. Change the tires and run again. That's it, you know. Very basic. We don't spend so much time in tuning the car. This car is different. This is my test car. When I'm bored and trying to beat this car, I would run this. This body is slower than this. But maybe if they weigh the same, maybe the lap time will be the same. Okay, making this video a day later, maybe I should explain a little bit about the rear on how I do the setup for my car. The reason why I want it soft is because our track has low grip. So I want the rear soft so that the rear feels more planted. If the back end is not linear, like how I have mine right now, if it's more progressive to where when it's moving, it's stiffer side to side, the rear end on our current track will over-rotate on power and off power. If the track has more grip, high grip, then I can make the rear end stiffer by putting heavier grease, putting springs, harder springs, putting 2 discs in the bottom, maybe even thicker T-plate in the bottom, so that the back end is stiffer, more progressive side to side, so that I can make the rear rotate on a high grip track. Okay, but since our track has low grip, I make the back end more planted by having it more linear to articulate. This way it's not going to over rotate. If I put hard springs top, bottom, and then thicker or full grease on the disc, then top and bottom, this car will over rotate. Right now with this car, because this car is fixed, remember, this is the spec car. When I'm letting off a little bit, not even reaching the neutral position, when I'm letting off a little bit, if I let off close to the neutral position, the back end of this car coming onto the sweeper will already rotate. I can feel it rotating already. Okay, so I never ever reach the neutral position unless I make a mistake, only because our track is green, no grip. Okay, again, low grip, you want it more linear. High grip, you want the back end to rotate a little bit, so make the back end a little bit stiffer, more progressive. Okay, I thought I'd add that in this video in case you're wondering why I make the back end so soft like that. Okay, I know other drivers have different ways of setting up their cars, kind of like the front PN tires. Some drivers, they say that the PN soft is more understeer for them and the PN hard has more grip. For me, it's the opposite. I get more grip with the soft tires and less grip with the hard tires, PN. Okay, this is just how I approach things, and this is how I know my setup. It doesn't mean that you should follow mine because I'm right. No, other drivers are fast drivers as well, and they're running hard fronts to get more grip because that's their driving style. Okay, this is my driving style, so I know how to approach my setup. Anyway, as far as the rear end, you know, the local driver is faster on a low grip with a stiff rear end. Sure, you can copy their setup and try it for yourself. If it doesn't work, then you go to similar setup to where the back end is more linear. Just give them a try and see what works for your driving style. Okay, all right, thanks.